Awesome. I don't know what just happened here, but this computer started talking to me. But anyways, so it was amazing. God began to work in my life, and I really felt this call to ministry. Now I realize, man, I can't imagine doing anything else. I can't imagine doing business or any other things, because this is who I am. And I've been part of a few different churches. I've been down here in Los Angeles, California area for a little over 5 years now, and local youth pastor here. We have a second campus that opened up, and our pastor approached me and he said, "Hey, Meesh, I know you know how to build teams. I know you know how to build ministries. You've done it. You have a record of it. Would you help us?" And so that's what I've been doing. And so I've helped build a lot of teams. I was a youth pastor up in Washington, a church called the Image Church, which is still going. I'm actually going to be up there preaching here. I think I don't know, maybe next month or something. I can't remember. And super excited about that. But I've had a chance to work with a lot of teams, and I know the importance, because you can't build anything if you don't have a good team. And you can have an amazing leader, you can have an amazing, gift, but if you don't have a good team, then you're not going to get very far. And I've had an opportunity to help in Bellingham, which is a city in northern Washington. I built a college ministry there. Did that. I literally went up there, and 3 to 4 days a week was living up there, building a team, establishing it. Did that for about 6 months, and then visited once a month, and then slowly handed it completely off. And that ministry is still pumping. This was probably 7 years ago I did. And the ministry, they got over 100 students coming every week on a college campus. And I just I built a youth ministry at the church from scratch, and now with our second campus here, a youth ministry that actually, this is only going to you guys. No one else knows this. This is like on the DL, the down low. And so please keep this to yourselves. I don't even know who I'm talking to, but keep it to yourselves. But I'm actually in the process right now of handing off my youth ministry that I have now to a team. They don't even know about it yet, but I've been preparing them, and we've been talking to our senior leader pastors, and we're in the process of handing it off again. And then I'm going to start another one, another local ministry with more of a young adults vibe, because right now I'm doing middle school, high school, and a little bit of college age. So we're going to be transitioning a team over again. So I've built many teams, and one of my favorite things to do is to talk to teams. And so when I was leaving Seattle, moving to LA about 6 years ago, I handled youth ministry off, and I created what I call the 10 Commandments of team. And I believe 10 pillars that every team needs. I'm going to go through them as quick as possible, but make it as clear as possible so you guys can get them. So we're going to just jump right in. They're not in any order. It's not like the first one is the most important and the 10th one is the least important. In fact, not true at all. There's a lot of good ones. So we're going to just start off. And here we go. I just created this PowerPoint literally minutes before we started. So sorry, it's not super fancy and cool pictures, but it's got the basics on it. So 10 Commandments of Team. I believe, and this is what I tell when I'm building a team. If you want to serve in this ministry, these are core values that you need to have. And one thing I always do is we always do team meetings. We do pre-service prayer before services, before different things, and I always try to communicate one of these points just to constantly have a reminder for us. And I would challenge you guys, youth pastors who are listening, this is something that isn't just looked at once, but this is something that needs to be revisited constantly. I'm always reminding myself these things. And so this is something that you should be presenting to your team constantly. So here we go. Number one. Here we go. Out of Psalms 100, verse 1 and 2, and I'm going to read this. Psalm 100, verse 1 and 2, and number 1 is serve the Lord with gladness. Here's what it says. It says, I'm reading out of the ESV. It says this: make a joyful shout to the Lord, all the earth. Serve the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. And I think, honestly, this is a really, really big key. Having gladness. Now, there's a difference between happiness and joy. Gladness and joy is something that comes from God and something that is sustained in God and God alone. And happiness is momentary. Happiness is if I give you, my ear pods. If I give them to you, you're happy. You're like, oh, cool, I got ear pods. You're so excited about it. Happiness is momentary. It comes and it goes. But gladness and joy is something that we choose. And so one of the things I'm always training our team on and talking to our team about is, guys, listen, our attitude is huge. It means so much. And even this verse talks about serving the Lord with gladness. And I always tell them, guys, it's an honor for us to serve the Lord. And even having this attitude is not that I have to, but this attitude of I get to. And so I always want to, whatever team I'm building, my wife and I also oversee our kids ministry. My wife does more of that than I do. We oversee our kids ministry. And so every Sunday before our kids service, I meet with all the leaders. And in fact, this is one thing our church practices. And I think it's very important. We have pre-service prayer. And before our service starts, we break up after pre-service prayer into our different teams. So there's the greeting team, there's the worship team, there's the kids team, there's the middle school team. All the different teams break up and they all have a small meeting. And the leader of that team literally tries to bring some kind of life and says something encouraging to them. And so my wife and I, we even oversee on Sunday morning, we oversee the kids ministry. So I'm even speaking to our kids leaders, and I'm always saying, guys, it's an honor for us to be here. Listen, you don't have to be here. You get to be here. It's an opportunity that you get to do. And so I think your attitude is huge. And the one thing I always say about on this topic is that we come to give, not to get. As leaders, yes, we're going to get. Yes, hopefully we're receiving. Hopefully we're growing. But we're not there just to grow. In fact, hopefully, as if you're a leader, you're growing personally. You're having your own time with God. You have your own Bible reading plans. You have your own thing. You're growing in small groups with accountability. That's separate. But if we're here at service and you're a leader and you're going to be on my team, you've come to give, not to get. And so we're here to serve. It's not for me, but it's for others. And so my mind is always on others. And I believe joy is a decision. Even when everything could be going bad that day, I say, guys, listen, we're deciding today. Just like love is a decision. I choose daily if I want to love. If I want to love people, if I want to love my wife, it's a decision. Same with joy. It's a decision. And I love this verse in the Bible. I forget where it's written. And it says that the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I'm telling you what, if your youth ministry is going to have a strength, it's going to be rooted in the joy of the Lord. And we have to approach it as a team with joy. So that's the first thing. I think it's very, very important that we all understand and our team understands that we get to. We don't have to, but we get to. It's an opportunity for you. And I know sometimes as leaders, I've learned not to put pressure on my team. Like, you have to be there. You have to do this. But I try to do it instead of from a defensive perspective. I do it from an offensive perspective. I don't know if you're into sports or not, if you're into football or basketball or whatever you're into, but defense is important. But the truth is, if you don't score, if you don't have offense, you're not going to win. And I always want to be a teacher that teaches from the offensive end, not from the defensive end. And I always want to be someone who inspires rather than forces, because nobody wants to serve a leader who forces, but everybody wants to serve a leader who has a vision and going somewhere. And so we get to, not we have to. That's number one. Number two, here we go. I have a heart for the house. And so this is something I even have my leaders repeat after me. Everyone say after me now. I have a heart for the house. That's literally what I have them do. And this one, honestly, I think I stole this from Brian Houston. I think they say this in Hillsong all the time, but I love the way it's worded. And in Acts chapter 9, it's a story of the conversion of Saul to Paul. And you guys remember the story of Saul? He persecuted Christians, not because he was a bad person, but because that's just what was the right thing to do. That was what his religion taught him to do. And then in Acts chapter 9, we know the story of the light came and he gets knocked on the floor, he goes blind. And in that moment, everything changed. And specifically in this point, there's three little subpoints, which I didn't do a slide for this, but there's three subpoints. And we see the difference of when Paul he became Paul and transitioned from Saul to Paul. He saw God in one way, but then there was a moment, everything changed. And so there's three things I want to talk about under this point, having a heart for the house, is first of all, your view. Secondly, your value. And third is your vocabulary. So all three V's, having a heart for the house, your view, your value, and your vocabulary. Write these things down. And honestly, I think you have to take this to your teams. First one is your view. The question is, how do you view God? How do you view life? What is your view? Saul had to change his view. In fact, God even changed his name from Saul to Paul. He had to change. His heart had to change. And so the question is, first of all, how do you view God is how you're going to view ministry. And so it's important for you as a leader and you youth pastors, when you speak to your leaders, it's important that your leaders have an encounter with God. If you have leaders there who have terrible character but have good talents, not a good idea. I've put people like that in positions, and it's been nothing but disaster. Character always over talent. That doesn't mean we don't do talent. We still need talent. In fact, the Bible is very clear on that. in the Old Testament, even when they were building the ark, when they were building the tabernacle, the Bible says that there were people who are anointed, had specific talents, who were anointed to do different things. So sometimes Christians are like, oh, we need character. Yes, but also we need the talent side of things. But so your view, what is your view? And we have to be in sync. Our view as leaders have to be in sync. If someone has a different view than me, then maybe you got to ask them, hey, listen, this is where we're going. We have one vision, because two visions is division. Two means have two separate visions. We don't want two visions, because otherwise there's going to be split. Too many churches splitting, too many ministries splitting, too many friendships splitting, too many marriages splitting. Why? Because there's two different hearts, for the house, and we need to have we have a heart for the house together. We have one view, and then the next thing is our value. Out of our view comes our value. And so our values have to be in line to the house of God. And here's the thing is, every church has different values. Some churches are strong on evangelism. Some churches are strong on small groups. Some churches are strong on fellowship. Some churches, hopefully every church is doing parts of those, but there's different churches that have different strengths. We as a church, the City Church here in Southern California, and in Ventura and in Agora, our two campuses, we have our value system. And as leaders, we have to have the same value. And the value starts from the top, the vision, so it's important to have the view, have the value. And then the last thing is the vocabulary. How do we talk? We got to talk the same way. So if our pastor talks a certain way, we got to talk, we got to have that same type of expression. We got to have, if our church says, hey, this is a no, hey, this is what we do, we talk the same way. Not, oh, pastor says this, but I don't agree with him. We can't have that. The moment we start having that is the moment there are problems. And the moment that there is dissension, and the moment that there's, situations. And so, by the way, if you guys have any questions, write them, and we will totally respond to them towards the end. So, your right view, your right value, and your right vocabulary, because we got to be in line in one vision. Otherwise, we're going to be divided, and a house divided, Bible says, will not stand. And so we got to have a Saul to Paul conversion, just like in Acts chapter 9. Number 3. I love this one. Man, as leaders, as youth pastors, you guys know this. Man, a lot of people come to you with problems. This is wrong. The worship is wrong. This is wrong. That person did this wrong. And here's the thing is, what I say is, we share solutions, not problems. We talk about this in our marriage with our wife. Like, it's easy to show what's wrong, but let's bring a solution. It may not even be the right solution, but I'd rather you bring me a solution than no solution. If you're coming and just complaining, I don't want to hear it. In fact, if I have leaders come to me and start complaining, this, I honestly say, I don't want to hear it. What can you do to bring a solution? And so I love this verse in Matthew chapter 7:7. It says, you guys have heard this verse a million times if you're in ministry. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. And here's the thing is, we need to ask God. If we see a problem, let's think of a solution. So my leaders, I train them. Listen, come to me when you have a solution to the problem. So don't come into me and tell me, hey, this worship leader is bad. Hey, come to me and give me a solution. Hey, what if we try to train our worship leader to do this? Or what if we try to ask him to do this? So tell me how we can fix it. Don't just tell me the problem. Problems are easy. Everybody can see a problem, but only leaders see solutions. And let's think about solutions before we even present the situation. So if I see something, like we have a staff meeting with our team. We just had our staff meeting on Monday, and we went around the room, and the question was, okay, what do we see? Not the problem, but what do we see that we can do? How can we impact? How could we make better? So as leaders, train your team. Don't tell me the problem. Bring your solution. And the truth is, there's a solution to every problem. If you see the problem, it's because guess what? God has given you the opportunity to see that problem. Like, there's some things I just don't see. Like, some people see lighting. Some people see communication. Some people see new people. Some people see, there's all the different aspects of a service, and there's things that you're going to see that I'm not going to see. And so if you're on my team, tell me what you see, but don't just tell me the problem. Tell me how we can fix it. And I love this phrase. I totally stole it from somebody. I don't know who or how, but I wrote this down. I said, don't be a cancer when you're designed to be a cure. Because the truth is, bringing problems is easy. In your marriage, it's easy to find problems. In your friendships, it's easy to find problems. Your teachers, your pastors, your leaders, it's easy to find problems. We're all full of problems. We're human. We make mistakes. But leaders, they bring solutions. And so even in my marriage, in my ministry, it's like, hey, guys, here's what I see. Here's what I think we can fix. What do you think? And so even if their solution isn't perfect, but at least they're bringing solutions. And I'd rather have 10 bad ideas, than 10 problems. 10 people say, I'd rather have 10 ideas, because the truth is even a bad idea will eventually encourage someone to bring a good idea. So I'd rather you have an idea than no idea at all. And so don't be a cancer when you're designed to be a cure. Let's bring solutions to our ministries, to our pastors, to our leaders. And I'm telling you what, when you approach your pastor with a solution, they're going to look at you different. When you come to your senior pastor and say, senior pastor, oh, you're doing this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, then guess what? They're going to turn off towards you. They're going to build a wall between you and them, and nothing's going to get done. But when you say, hey, pastor, I have an idea. Let's try this. Hey, pastor, what do you think about this idea? And let them have some say. I'm telling you what, their attitude is going to completely shift and change towards you. So let's use wisdom. Let's use wisdom. And the Bible says, if you don't have wisdom, ask of God, and he will give you wisdom. Number 4. I have an attractive spirituality. Let me explain that. In 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 19 through 22. I'm going to read this to you guys real quick. I'm reading out of the NLT. It says this: even though I am a free man and with no master, I have become a slave to all people to bring many to Christ. And I love this. Here's verse 20. When I was with the Jews, I lived like a Jew to bring the Jews to Christ. And then he goes on and talks about that. And then verse 21. And when I'm with the Gentiles, I do not follow the Jewish law. I too live apart from the law so that I may bring them to Christ. And then verse 22. When I'm with those who are weak, I share their weaknesses. And I love his phrasing here. I love what Paul says here to the Corinthian church. For I want to bring the weak to Christ. Yes, I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. And I love this because Paul's talking about reaching other people. Because the truth is, if we're not reaching people, then why in the world are we doing? We're not here just to play patty cake with Pedro. We're not here just to sit here and sing Kumbaya and keep each other accountable. That's good in small groups. But the truth is, our goal is to reach people. And if you're not reaching people, if new people aren't coming, if people aren't getting saved, then what are we doing? That's not Christianity. Christianity, healthy things grow. And if you have a healthy church, it will grow. People will grow. People will develop. And so I love this. I love what Paul says. With the Jews, I'm like the Jews. With the Gentiles, like the Gentiles. When they're weak, I share in their weakness. Now, it doesn't mean that if I'm around a sinner that I'm going to sin. No. It just means that I'm going to try to understand where they're at, and I'm going to be where they're at. So if I'm in the East Coast has their situations. If I'm in the South, I figure out the South situation. If I'm on the West Coast, then, like everywhere I am, the truth is it's different. People are different. The cultures are different. If God has given me Hispanics, if God has given me Slavics, if God has given me Americans, he's going to give me a grace for them. I can't try to reach them with my culture. I got to try to come and see where they're at. And so my spirituality has to be attractive. And let's be relatable. I mean, there are some Christians, it's crazy to me how we try to be so spiritual. I want to learn from Jesus. Jesus was so approachable. It's crazy. Sometimes pastors and leaders, and I'm not here to criticize anybody, but sometimes it's funny because you look at pastors, leaders, and they're just so spiritual that people can't even relate to them. It's just like, if someone in the street can't relate to you, then maybe you're a little too spiritual, or maybe you're a little too Christianese. And we need to be relatable. And I wrote down this phrase, and I want you to write this down. I think this is such a powerful phrase. We need to be spiritually strong, but yet socially aware. There are some people who focus on the spiritually strong part, and then they are totally not socially aware of what's going on. And then the other extreme is people who are socially aware. They're so socially aware that they're spiritually like losing it. But I think we've got to have that balance, both. We've got to be spiritually strong, but yet at the same time be socially aware. And the truth is, like, if you're out with people who don't understand, Christianese or Christian jargon, then speak their language. You know what I mean? And I love learning from Jesus, because sinners felt comfortable around Jesus. If the prostitutes felt comfortable coming to Jesus, sinners felt comfortable coming to Jesus. They had talked to Jesus. And here's my favorite part. Children loved coming to Jesus. I know it's funny. One of my former pastors, we were sitting in his living room, and he was asking his son. His son was in the kids ministry, and he was asking his son about leaders. He's like, hey, tell me about this leader. Hey, tell me about that leader. And it was funny. He was getting his opinion about the leaders from his son, because he wanted to see, how do the kids view the leader, because that's a big deal. And I think it's very interesting to ask, you know, because here's the thing is if you're too spiritual and kids are afraid of you, then you're too spiritual. Don't be that spiritual. Come down to earth. If Jesus was so approachable, if Jesus was so normal, we need to be approachable. We need to be normal. I mean, if sinners are afraid to come to you, you're too spiritual. Sinners need to find a place and a shelter around you. And I'm not, this is not my opinion. I want to be like Jesus. We're called to be the image of Christ. And so I want people, when they look at me, I want them to say, if this is what a Christian is, this is what I want to be like. I want people to find something in me. And I wrote this down, that if your passion is not in tune, it's actually harmful. Thank you for being passionate. We need passionate people. But sometimes you get so passionate that you run people over. That's not a good thing. Passion with humility. That's how it's supposed to be. So spiritually strong and socially aware. Number 4. Have an attractive spirituality. Make people be drawn to you, or you could say even a magnetic spirituality. People are drawn to you. Number 5. I love this one. I'm all about Jesus. In Mark chapter 1, verse 7, it says this. Jesus announced, John announced, this is John the Baptist. He announced, someone is coming who is greater than I am. So much greater that I'm not even worthy to stoop down like a slave and untie the straps of his sandals. Man, I love that humility. John, the Bible says, the greatest of all the prophets of the Old Testament. John, I mean, this guy was announcing Jesus. I mean, unbelievable. And he's saying, listen, guys, I'm here. Why? Not for my ministry. I'm not here to build my platform. I'm not here to do this and that and this and that. And I'm not here to build this, you know. I'm here because of truly, why are we here? It's about Jesus. And I think it's so important for us. John says this. He's like, for he is greater than I am. Why are we here? And I tell my leaders this, guys, we're here to make his name great, not my name great. I'm not here to make Meesh's name great. I'm about to fly out to tomorrow morning, actually super early. I got to leave my house at 5 a.m., flying over to Ukraine, in Kiev, doing a youth conference out there for the weekend, and then going over to Georgia, and going to be in Georgia speaking out there. And sometimes we can get caught up into, oh, I'm speaking here and I'm doing that, and I'm a youth pastor here and my platform here, and I got invited by this person. And sometimes we can get so caught up in just, oh, it's about me. But the truth is like the more it's about you, the less God's gonna be able to use you. But when you make his name great, he's gonna put you in great places. So I'm there to make his name great, not my name great. And then I love this. I wrote this down. Don't be more loyal to your gift than you are to Jesus. I know a lot of preachers. I know a lot of people who are all about their gifting. And I'm like, thank God for your gift, but it's not about your gift. It's about him. Your gift is there to make him look bigger, him look greater. So it's about Jesus. I wrote this down. I call it the frustrated preacher syndrome. And I'm sure you guys, if you've been in ministry, I'm sure you've seen this. And as a leader, our goal is to always raise up new leaders. And I do a thing with our youth ministry. In fact, we're doing it here in 2 weeks. A thing we call the triple header. And I'm training. I'll train 3 people, and we do it about every 5-6 weeks. Because I always want to give people a platform and an opportunity to grow and share. And I teach them how to, and we'll give them like 8-9 minutes to preach. And then so we'll do 3 people in 1 week. I do this every once in a while. I think it's an awesome opportunity to grow people. And another opportunity is give people an opportunity to take the offering or do the announcements or do these different things. And I'll never forget this one time, talk about frustrated preacher syndrome. This guy who thought he was, the greatest thing since sliced bread came out, and I remember I finally gave him an opportunity to take the offering. And I said, hey, listen, the offering is, you have 2 to 3 minutes. Give me one example, give me one Bible verse, and just share from your personal experience. And I kind of walked him through how to do it. And this guy when he got the mic, he got up there, and I'm telling you what, 2 minutes went by, 3 minutes went by, 4 minutes by. He took over 5 minutes, and he's over there and he's preaching. And I'm talking like, this guy's up there just preaching. I'm like, listen, you're all about yourself right now. You're talking and you're trying to bring attention to how great of a communicator you are. And the truth is, he's a good communicator. The truth is, he was talented, he was gifted, but his heart was in the wrong place. It wasn't about Jesus. It was about him and making himself look good. And I told him afterwards, I was like, listen, bro, I was like, that wasn't good. I was like, yeah, you're gifted. Yeah, you're talented, but that was all about you. and you took the focus off of where the focus is supposed to be, and you put the focus on yourself. And our loyalty is not to our gift. Our loyalty is to Jesus. And we have to understand that. And I always tell our leaders, guys, listen, you walk through these doors, you check your ego out the other side of the door. So when you walk in, it's not about you. You check your ego out there. And so it's important that, I wrote this down. If you're into making much of Jesus, Jesus will make much of you. And so our goal is to raise up Jesus and not our own name. And I think as leaders, we got to continually communicate that. Guys, why are we here? What are we doing? Communicate, communicate, communicate. And it's easy to break someone down, but when you're giving someone criticism, make it constructive criticism and make it in a way where it's like, guys, listen, today that was a little too much of you. Let's bring it back to our focus. Let the main thing be about the main thing. Next one, number 6. I am united. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but all of them start with I am, because every leader needs to basically, I try to communicate to all my leaders that this is who I am. Not this is who my pastor is, not this is who my leader, this is who I am. And so number 6, I am united, or team. We're a team. In John chapter 17, verse 23 says this: I and them and you and me, that they may become perfectly one. I think this is so powerful. So that the world may know that you have sent me and loved them even as you have loved me. Now what's amazing here is the importance of being team, and the importance of constantly communicating that, listen guys, we are one collective team, and we're only going to be as strong as the weakest link. And so we need to constantly be affirming people. Like, it's not about me. I may be the youth pastor, maybe you call me Pastor Meesh, but the truth is like, we're a team. And I may do something well, but if other things are falling apart, it's not good. And there's this phrase in relationships that you learn is: a family that prays together stays together. And I think that's so powerful. A family that prays together stays together. But I took it to another level, and I made up this thing. It says, not only does a family that prays together stays together, but a family that plays together stays together. And I think it's important that we don't just do spiritual things together, but if you want to stay united, you got to do fun things together. I remember there'll be times where I'm like going to the store and I'm like calling up some of my guys who I'm discipling, training. I'm like, hey, I'm about to run to the mall. I got to run a couple errands. I got to go to the bank. You want to come with me? And most times I'm like, yeah, let's do it. If they got time, if they're available, they want to do life together. Especially if you're in youth ministry, your leaders are most likely going to be single people, and single people got time on their hands. Especially if they're not married or got kids, and they'd love to be around you. And I love this leadership thought: is leadership is more caught than it is taught. Leadership is more caught than it is taught. Let them be around you, because they're going to learn way more from your life than they're going to learn from your words. Remember that. They're going to learn way more from your life than they're going to learn from your words. I remember when I was in school, I took a parenting class. I went to a Christian high school, and we took a parenting class. And one of the phrases that stuck with me is rules without a relationship breeds rebellion, or rules without a relationship leads to rebellion. And sometimes you wonder why kids are rebellious. Is because the truth is they had a lot of rules in their family, but they didn't have a lot of relationship in the family. And relationship is key. If you want a strong team, you got to invest not just your information, but you got to invest your life into people, and you got to do life with them. You got to be able to talk about different subjects. You got to be able to have fun, have game nights, have fun nights, go bowling together, go do things together, whatever you guys like to do. Whatever it takes. But whatever you do life together. I learned more from my leaders by being around them than I did from their sermons or from their leadership sessions. And so it's so important for you to literally invest your life. Like when I travel a lot. In fact, this summer, I think I'm on the road literally probably at least every week, if not twice a week. I'll be living out of the airport. And what I love to do is, every time I can, I try to bring somebody with me. If my wife isn't coming with me, I try to bring somebody with me, because I'm telling you what, when you're flying together, you're doing these different things, you're going to the places, people learn so much from you. One of my worship leaders, I was raising him up, and I took him with me to Brazil. I took him with me over to the East Coast. I think I took him with me to Massachusetts. I was doing a youth camp out there. Took him with me there. Brought him to different places with me. His name is Malachi, and I'm telling you what, now this guy is one of the 3 people that I'm handing off my youth ministry to. Don't tell him that, because he doesn't know this yet. But and so do life together in community, in relationship. And here's the truth: is you can only raise somebody up when you're imparting your life to them. Paul had a Timothy. Elijah had an Elisha. And the thing is, you're never going to bring somebody up if you're not spending time with them. And when I'm transitioning right now, about to hand off my youth ministry, and when we're talking about how we're going to do it within the next 2 months, we're going to hand it off completely. So I can focus a lot because I travel a lot. My organization is called BEMOVED, and I really want to be able to focus more on that. And the local church needs people who are more local, and so it's a perfect time. I built the team up about the last year and a half, really invested, and they're at a place where they can take it over. And the way I'm able to do that is by relationship. Buy them a smoothie, take them to lunch, get them a burger. It's important. So a team that prays together stays together, and also a team that plays together stays together. Here we go. Number 7. I am a master of discretion. Oh man, I can't emphasize how important this one is. I'm a master of discretion. In Proverbs chapter 20, verse 19 says this: whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with such a babbler. What is a master of discretion? Master of discretion is basically a person who doesn't gossip. Gossip is a church killer. Gossip is a relationship killer. Gossip is a ministry killer. Gossip, I'm telling you what, I can't emphasize enough. And one thing I love about my pastor, Pastor Jude, many of you guys probably heard of him. He's an absolutely legend, especially with youth pastors. Pretty much every youth pastor in the nation knows who he is. This guy is legend when it comes to leadership and that. And what's amazing about him is, as long as I've known him, and I've known him for probably 15 years, I've never once out of his mouth heard him talking bad about another ministry, talking bad about other pastors. Even when we all know from the outside, man, this person did this person's living in this sin, or that person's doing that. And the truth is, Christians are the worst, I think, sometimes at this gossip. They're the worst. Oh, did you hear this church is this? Oh, did you hear that? Why? Is because people are always comparing, and people are always trying to be better than someone, and they're always trying to say, where they're at. Gossip just shows your level of maturity. And here's one thing I would say: if you allow people to gossip to you, that means you're also a gossip. So the way to check if you're someone who is a master of discretion, don't allow people to gossip to you. I remember, I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. I remember I was talking to my pastor one time, and I literally began to talk about another ministry and another pastor. And he's like, "Meesh, stop." He literally stopped me, like sternly. He's like, "Meesh, stop." He's like, "That's not for you to, he's like, yeah, we need to learn from people, and let's learn, but you should not be talking bad about that person. God loves that person." And I was like, whoa, he stopped me. And I realized from that moment, man, I never want to be a person who's a gossip. Too many Christians are gossiping. People, bloggers, oh Lord Jesus, have mercy on them. It's crazy. Bloggers are over there writing, this pastor did this, exposing. Listen, I love saying that. Listen, we're not here to air out other people's laundry. Does that make sense? We're not here to show other people's problems. Our job is for us to be trusted and respected, and it's not going to happen if we gossip. If you're a person who gossips, and if you're a person who is always talking about other people's mistakes, I'm telling you what, you're not going to get very far. Let's cover, not expose. Write that down. Share it with leaders. Let's cover people, not expose people. We're called to cover people. And even in Matthew chapter 18, I believe it is when he's writing about how to talk to someone. He's like, first come and talk to them alone, then come with somebody else. There's a whole process before it goes to the church and makes it public. There's a whole process. Our job is to cover people. That is what we're supposed to do. Our job is not to be like, what's wrong with you? This person has that problem. This person has that problem. Listen, you got a problem too. What if we were airing out your problems and your mistakes and your different things? Our job is to cover people and help them and have them grow. Obviously, we're not talking about people who are living in direct rebellion. If they're living in direct rebellion, help them, love them. And sometimes you got to be like, you know what? You can't serve right now. You got to just sit. And there's seasons for that. But let's have a heart that honors people. Let's have a heart that covers people, not exposes them. Because the truth is, if you're gonna expose other people, guess what? You're gonna be exposed too. We all have mistakes, and it's important that we're growing and that we're covering. And I think it's a very, very important. Number 7 is that being a master of discretion. Number 8, we're gonna wrap up here in the next 5-10 minutes. Number 8, I am reliable. Man, as a leader and as a pastor who's built many teams and had a lot of different situations, I have gone through so many leaders and so many people. And I love this passage in Luke chapter 16, verse 10. Check this out. It says this, it says, one who is faithful in the very little will also be faithful in much. And the one who is dishonest in little will be dishonest in much. You know what's crazy is the leaders that are doing the most work are the leaders that are going to get even more work. And I mean, it's even in that passage of the parable of the different talents. You know, you got the guy with the 1 talent, the 2 talents, and the 5 talents. What's crazy is the guy with the 5 talents had got the one with the 1 talent because the guy was irresponsible. And what's crazy is if you're not going to be responsible with little, you're not going to be responsible with more. And so one thing with leaders, I always talk about, like, listen, guys, let's be leaders who are faithful with the little things. If all you're responsible to do is come early and set up chairs, man, get there extra early. You know, show how responsible you are, because faithfulness goes a long way, and character is built in those moments. I have been that guy that came early and set up chairs. I have been that guy. People think, oh yeah, you're traveling. You've been to 37 countries. You preached to, to so many thousands of people. You do conference. How did you get there? It's like, no. You know where I started? Stacking chairs, being there early, turning the lights on, being the last one there cleaning up. People don't know about that. Being the usher, being that guy. Going through that stuff. And I'm telling you what, you don't get to higher levels if you're not faithful with the few. You'll never get to more. And one of the things I always talk about with our leaders is, listen, we all know every church has a follow-up plan. We have a follow-up team, and hopefully you have a follow-up team of when new people come. Hopefully you have a system, some kind of a card system, somehow they can get reached out to, called, texted, whatever. Hopefully there's some kind of a system. But I always tell our leaders, listen, we have a system, but don't rely on the system. We rely on you. You are the system. If you're a leader, in fact, one of my rules was, if you see a new face, an unfamiliar face, every single one of my 10 leaders, however many leaders I had at that season of time, every single one of you guys it's one of the things I'm commissioning and expecting you to do is you're going to say hi to that person. You're going to greet them, and you're going to figure something out and connect them with somebody. If they're, a middle schooler who plays basketball, connect them with somebody else who plays basketball. If they're into, whatever, fishing, connect them with someone who likes fish, whatever, and somehow build a relationship. You get their phone number, you text them. Don't wait for the follow-up plan. You be their follow-up plan. I always don't wait for the person to do it or a card to do it. We as leaders, that is our responsibility. And one of the things I'm always talking to our team about is after service gets out, people love to be in their little groups. They get together, they talk to each other. And I'm like, guys, listen, if you're a leader, you're not going to be in a group. When all the new people leave and everyone's gone, then get together, hang out. But your responsibility before and after service is you are looking for the people that are by themselves, and you are looking for the people that are newer, and you're connecting them. That is your job. And so, I say this, that we're building the church on our shoulders, not my shoulders, our shoulders. You're building the church on your shoulders. I'm building the church on my shoulders. Don't wait for some system that's doing it to do it, or don't wait for the door greeter to greet them. If you're a leader, this is your responsibility. Be reliable. And so that's a big thing for me in our youth. Is if I see 2 leaders talking and they're hanging out, laughing together after service, I literally will be like, hey guys, listen, that's not why we're here. We're not here for you to hang out right now. There's new people here. Go greet them, go love on them, go do something around them. Invite them into your conversation, have other people around you. And then when they all leave, then you could go hang out, do your thing. And in fact, invite them with you. Have them come to you with, to Applebee's or wherever you guys go, if you guys do ice cream after your services or wherever you guys go, lunch, whatever, bring them with you. You be the follow-up plan. It's not a personality thing. Yes, for some people it may be a little bit easier, but it's not a personality thing. It's a leadership thing. Number 8, so I am reliable. Number 9, I create atmosphere. Man, I can't. All these are so good, but I just feel like, man, each one I get to is just so good. I love this. 2 Chronicles chapter 5, verse 13 to 14. It says this: the trumpeters and singers perform together in unison. Talk about unity. That's amazing. Atmosphere comes in unity. And when a team is united, check this out. They perform together in unison to praise and give thanks to the Lord. Accompanied by trumpets and cymbals and other instruments, they raised their voices and praised the Lord with their words. And here's what they said: He is good. His faithful love endures forever. They're singing this, praising this. And then look at the last part of verse 13, the beginning of verse 14. It says this, at that moment, a thick cloud filled the temple of the Lord, and the priests could not continue their service because of the cloud, for the glorious presence of the Lord filled the temple of God. Man, what a picture. They couldn't even stand because the presence of God was so strong. But how did the presence of God come? At that moment. At what moment? At the moment where there was unison, at the moment where there was an atmosphere created. It says they worshiped together, they praised together, they were united together. And so one of the things I tell our team, hey, listen, I know maybe you had a bad day. Maybe you got in a car accident. Maybe I don't know what happened. Your boyfriend broke up with you. I don't know. Listen, if you're a leader and you come through these doors, we leave our ego behind. We walk in. We're not fake, but we're full of faith. We're not faking it till we make it, but we're faith in it. And we create an atmosphere of faith. We create an atmosphere of welcome. We create an atmosphere of joy. We create atmosphere. And leaders, they dictate atmosphere. I remember when we were doing worship and everyone's sitting in their seats, and we wanted to change it up, and we wanted to start bringing people forward. And so one week we're like, hey guys, come on forward. And nobody wanted to come forward. Nobody wanted to worship from the front. And so what did we do? I was like, hey guys, listen, next week, here's what we're going to do. Grab one person with you and come forward. And I'm telling you what, after about a month of doing this week after week, and a month, 2 months, we created a culture in our youth service where everyone came forward to worship. That's just what we wanted to do. I mean, every church is different, but your leaders start by creating atmosphere. I'll never forget, I was at a Jesus Culture conference years ago, and I brought a van load of our youth, brought like maybe 15 youth from our youth ministry down to Redding, California, when Jesus Culture was still up there. And I remember it was a midday session, and we kind of came a little bit late, so we were sitting in the back of this auditorium. It was like their big auditorium, and I was talking to someone there from that was local there from there, and we're talking, hanging out, and all of a sudden his alarm went off on his phone. He's like, hey, listen, I got to start praying for the service. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, what we have in this atmosphere, in this all over this auditorium, was we have people positioned in every area, and in the whole service we are interceding for this area and for the service. And then the guy began to say, look, all over this sanctuary, all over this stadium, we have people positioned that are literally creating atmosphere. And I'm like, wow, no wonder you guys have worship the way you guys do. No wonder you guys have the presence of God the way you guys have it, because they set an atmosphere. I remember hearing a story. One youth pastor told me in his youth ministry, this is in Australia, so I mean, they're crazy out there. And so we're responsible for setting the mood. And this story is so funny to me. But I'm telling you what, that night, I mean, there was just no atmosphere. It was just dead. People came in. It was kind of boring and dry. And I'm telling you what, if the leaders are bored, everybody else is bored too. And so it's your job to create an atmosphere of faith, energy, not hype, but energy and faith and passion. Hype comes and goes. I'm talking like legit. And I'll never forget this. The guy's like, we didn't know what to do. Like it was as dead as an atmosphere as you can think. And the guy had this crazy idea. Now, I don't recommend you do this, but I like the idea of it. And so they said, hey, how many of you guys want to see a midget kick himself in the head? And everyone started laughing, and everyone's like, yeah, everyone started cheering. And there was this guy in their youth ministry who was a midget, and everyone loved him, and he was always doing crazy, acrobatic, funny stuff. And so they called him up on stage. This is the funniest thing I've ever heard. And he gets up on stage, and this midget literally kicks himself like in the head. He just clicks the foot. Everyone started laughing. And obviously that's kind of strange, but it did something to an atmosphere. It caused an energy to come up in this atmosphere, and then they were able to convert that energy into powerful moments. And so I don't recommend, that's kind of crazy, obviously, but do whatever it takes to keep the energy of the room up. And your leaders are responsible. It's not the preacher, it's not the worship team, it's every single person. If you want atmosphere of worship, every leader should be lifting their hands. If you want an atmosphere of prayer, every leader should be praying. Whatever culture you want to create, the leaders, not just the person leading from the front, from the stage, from the microphone, but every leader has to be in sync. And talk about it. Hey guys, I want every leader today, I want you to get around somebody new, and I want you to worship with them. I want you to sit with them, whatever it may be. So that's so important. Number 10. That's number 9. Last one. And we're going to finish off here in the next minute. I am a second mile person. And what I love to say to my leaders, guys, listen, we go above and beyond. We don't just go the mile, but we go the second mile. And I love this verse in Philemon, verse 21, chapter 1, verse 21. Small book, only one chapter. And when he's writing to Philemon, he says this. I love it. I think it's so powerful. It says, I'm confident of your obedience. And he says, I write to you knowing that you will do even more than I ask. Can you imagine? Paul's writing and he said, listen, I am so proud of you. You're incredible because everything I ask you is not going to only get done, but even more will get done. And we have to create a culture where leaders are doing more than it's asked of them. And if they're not, let's reevaluate. Just recently, a few months ago, we had a transition of person. We had a person who was responsible for all the curriculum for our kids ministry. And because I oversee all of our generations from kids all the way through college age, everything in between, I oversee it. We had to make some leadership changes. And I remember like this girl, I talked to her again, and she's like, yeah, I'll do better. And she just wasn't even doing what's expected of her. Forget about going the second mile. And I just talked to her and I said, listen, we as a team, one of our values is we go above and beyond. And we don't want to just get enough done. We don't want to just have this ship floating, but we want to be thriving as a ministry. And we're not thriving in this area. So I gave her a few months to try to fix it, nothing. All of a sudden, I literally just called her up one day. I was like, listen, we need to replace, we need to bring somebody else. And she was a little bit hurt maybe, but you know what? Now we got a person there, and this girl is crushing it. She's going above and beyond. And we need people that have that mentality. And it's something that's cultivated by the senior leader. It always casting vision. Hey guys, let's think bigger. Let's think creatively. And let's go the extra mile, be not just to do exactly what's supposed to be done, but let's do even more. And I wrote this down, that ministry is built on the sacrifice of many, not the gifts of few. Let me say that again. Ministry is built on the sacrifice of many, not on the gifts of few. You may have a gifted communicator, you may have a gifted worship leader, but the truth is your ministry will not grow if that's all it is. You have a couple of really gifted people. Yeah, they may be attractive for a little bit, but it's not going to last. You got to have people who are willing to serve, who are willing to give themselves to the ministry. And I always tell our team, let's build a ministry that we want to go to. If you're bored, nobody else wants to be there. Build a ministry that you want to go to. And in just this last minute, I want to share that, when we go above and beyond, that means we don't just ask, what time do I have to arrive or what time can I leave? But we don't ask those kind of questions. If you're asking those, obviously there's moments and there's seasons in life where you got to like leave at a certain time or come at a certain time. I get it. But in general, if that's your attitude, then you're not a leader. Then you're just there because you want a platform or a position, but you're not there to serve the bigger cause. And so if my leaders are constantly asking, I got to leave early. Oh, I got to come. If that's a constant thing, then I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe you're not the person. And I got to cultivate people who are willing to give as much as they possibly can, and to have that kind of attitude. And I would say, let's build a church that we want to go to. Let's build a ministry that we want to go to. So that's my 10 commandments of team. Let's just go through them real quick one more time. Serve the Lord with gladness. I serve the Lord with gladness. I have a heart for the house. I share solutions, not problems. I have attractive spirituality. I'm all about Jesus. I am united. We are a team. I'm a master of discretion, not a gossip. I am reliable. I create atmosphere, and I am a second mile person. So those are just, I believe if you're going to build a successful team, and these are pillars that I've used when I built teams, and I think they're so crucial, so important. So yeah, if Alex wants to come back on here, and then we can kind of start wrapping this up. If we have any questions, maybe, I don't even know. Did we get any questions, Alex?
No, not yet. I think you've been given so much good material. I'm I don't know if you
taking notes.
And this is pages of notes here, man.
Yeah, I'm passionate
I love the one where you said feed them burger. Meesh, thank you, man.
Food, it was Jesus's trick too, bro. Food works. Food opens up. It's not only physical, but it's actually spiritual. And it's interesting that that word koinonia and even communion is over food. And so I'm telling you what, go eat with them. We do a thing with my wife every Sunday. Every Sunday we want to take somebody out to lunch. So on Sunday after we go out, sometimes they end up paying for us. Sometimes we pay for them. Sometimes, whatever. But we always want to do life with people. I think it's powerful. Any other questions, guys?
yeah, guys, if you have questions, please send them in. I have a question for Mish
Yes.
that I know I think a lot of people can benefit. One of my biggest mistakes in ministry when I was a youth leader
Uh-huh.
uh, is not training people on time. So basically, the way my life would happen is I would train my team, right? Um, I'm training, and it's so hard. And then all of a sudden, I step back and I say, "Oh, wow, this is so amazing! I have such a good team. Now I can relax a little."
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, that person gets married, or even better, pastor comes up and says, "Hey, Alex, I've been watching this guy.
Yeah.
I need him. He's going to be promoted as a deacon," and he pulls him out of me, out of my team. And then I realize, what? I did not have a person that was trained to fill in this guy's shoes. So
Yeah.
now I'm again and constant, pulling my hair out. Sometimes it's
Totally.
like,
I get it.
well,
And honestly, that was, I remember, one of my biggest and first mistakes. I remember when I was up in Seattle at the Image Church, and we created, I mean, our team was so killer. We had the dream team, the team of all teams, and I couldn't ask for more. Our youth ministry was blowing up. Like, our church was growing a little bit, but our youth ministry was blowing up. I mean, we literally started from nothing, and by our third year, we were getting over 100. We were getting 130 people every week coming, and for a church that started from scratch and just began to grow that quick, and I was like, man, we are crushing it. I got all these amazing, awesome, good leaders, and then guess what? They start getting married. They start moving along, their jobs, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no. And I forgot one important thing. I forgot for Paul raised up Timothy. Elijah had Elisha, and I forgot to invest in the next generation, especially in youth ministry. You are constantly, just imagine you have about 3 years to reproduce. And that's why it's always important as you're raising up your core team, you're always looking to the future. You're always looking to the next team. And the people that you're raising up, they should be raising somebody up. And so I made that mistake big time. And I'm telling you what, our youth ministry, we hit about 130 every single week. And then all of a sudden, the next 3 years we didn't grow. People would move on, and like we plateaued. And that was something I had to really, really learn. That, man, especially in youth ministry, you're constantly, people are coming and people are going and people are moving and people are obviously graduating and all that stuff. And so you have to constantly look at the middle schoolers, look at the freshmen, and just see what's there and start spending time with those guys, because those are your future leaders.
you guys have any kind of structure to that you guys implement as far as how you guys develop new leaders?
Yeah, I mean, small groups. That's the best way. Small groups and relationship. And honestly, the truth is in camps, and we do a thing we started doing this last, actually the beginning of this year. We do this thing once a month. So we have obviously our youth services every week. We're Tuesday nights. So we had our youth service last night, and it was good. Preached, and it was good. But what we started doing once a month. We started doing this thing called house party. So it's the first Tuesday of every month. We started doing a house party, and there was no preaching and no worship involved. It was totally fellowship and community. And in moments like that, you instead of seeing people just come in, all of a sudden they're now getting involved in games. They're doing these different things. Like our last theme was, we had a Mexican theme, so we had a piñata, we had tacos, we had it was a total Mexican theme. And I saw people, all of a sudden you start seeing leaders because of the way they swing the piñata and the way they talk to other people. You're like, oh, that guy, there's a leadership in them. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, let's meet for lunch. And all of a sudden you start. So if you're only doing services and you're not doing camps and conferences and these different things, and you're not seeing other people get activated in different things, sometimes it's hard to find them. But all of a sudden, one of the guys, he's one of the quietest guys ever. We played this game in our middle school service. We do like a 10-minute game before every service, and we did this game called "Honey, I Love You. If you love me, please smile." And so basically, people are literally coming up to each other and they're trying to get the other person to smile, and they're saying, "Honey, I love you. If you love me, please smile." And this guy who I would have never thought had any leadership ability at all, he's the most quiet, reserved. All of a sudden, I saw him get into acting mode, and I was like, "Whoa, we can use that." And I'm telling you, and you'll find leaders in the weirdest times. And
Yeah,
so, yeah.
pretty cool. Pretty cool. I have a few questions here. Someone is asking, which Georgia are you going to, the country or the state?
The country. Yep, I'm going to Belize. I'm going to be speaking for one of my good friends. His name is Mamuka. And Jabashvili, all their last names are Vili. And so I'm super excited to go to Georgia. Yeah.
Um, two more questions I have here. How do you deal with people that you let go from ministry, and when they continue to be in church but lose all respect towards you?
Say that one more time. I'm not following. So if they leave my ministry, right? But they're still in church.
So basically, this person is asking if you let that person go from ministry. So basically, they were in ministry, and for whatever reason, you let them go,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously they're in church, but there's no respect. Like maybe the person did something and there's no respect mutually or something like that. How do you deal with that?
I think as leaders, this is a really, I think delicate thing. And I think as leaders, we always got to be on their side. We have actually a situation with a girl who is just drama for days, just drama. I mean, it's just drama, and um, tries to be spiritual, but the truth is she's not hearing the Holy Spirit. She's hearing her own. Anyways, I don't want to go into the details of it, but you got to be a leader that is going to work with them, but at the same time, oh man, I wish I knew the exact situation that I could address, because it's important that we help the person grow. Even if they lose respect in our eyes, listen, Jesus dealt with the worst people, and these disciples lost respect all the time, but he still loved on them. He still worked with them. I mean, the sons of thunder, he called them, like, it's just like, let's call fire on these people. And Jesus almost like just laughed it off and said, listen, guys, chill out, and he worked with them. And the most important thing is we got to work with them. If we take them off ministry, we need to do that. We need to do that. And I mean, there's been seasons in my life. I remember when I was a young youth pastor, just started. I was a youth pastor for 6 years in Seattle. I mean, there was a season in my life where my pastor just wasn't happy with, just where I was at. And he's like, Meesh, like, I just think we need to take a month off of ministry. And nobody else in the church knew that. I didn't preach that whole month. I was there. I was do stuff, but he's just like, Meesh, I want you to get your spiritual life in order, and he did it, in a way where it's like, I don't want you preaching. I don't want you, this is this, but I still want you involved. I still want you doing stuff, and that honestly inspired me to want to become better. And so it's happened to me, and I've done that for other people. Like, hey, let's take you off for a season. I want to work with you. Let's meet monthly. It's easy to tell somebody this is wrong with you. It's not easy to tell somebody, hey, listen, I want to work with you on changing that. And it's easy to look at the fruit of the person. But the truth is, as leaders, we need to work with the fruit of the person. I'm sorry, it's easy to look at the fruit of the person, but we need to work with the root. Like, for instance, if I had a leader one time, I mean, this guy just lied. I had no idea. This guy was a legit leader, totally touched by God. And he would just, I mean, habitually, it was just crazy. He would look in your face, completely convincing me this is truth. And I'm convinced, and all of a sudden I realize this guy's actually like crazy lying and deceiving me behind my back. And it's easy for me to throw him off. It's easy for me to say, absolutely, what's wrong with you? Don't do this. But what I did is literally, I was like, hey, we got to meet. I took him off ministry. I was like, hey, I don't want you on the leadership team. I don't want you to come to meetings. Right now, I don't want you to, but like, I want to meet with you. I want to work with you. And we literally began to meet a couple times a week for the next couple months. And we literally began to get to, okay, listen, the fruit is lying. But the truth is, what's the root? What's really going on? And we got to a place where literally it's something that he worked up with his relationship with his father. His father was very verbally abusive to him growing up. He was kind of a crazy father, and literally he had problems, and he had to learn how to lie to his dad. And he had to literally, we had to go through dad issues. The issue was not him lying. The issue was he had dad problems. And it took a while to get to that understanding, and he had to get healing from that before he could stop lying. He knows he shouldn't lie. And it's easy to say, stop looking at pornography, stop doing this, stop doing that. It's easy as pastors to do that. But the truth is, are we just rebuking the fruit, or are we looking at the root? Because the truth is, if you rip an apple off a tree because you want grapes, what's going to happen the next season? It's going to grow more apples. And so we as youth pastors, sometimes it's easy for us to rip the apples off. You can't do that, rip them all off. Okay, now it looks good. But guess what's going to happen next season? More apples. So if you want grapes, you got to have a different root system. And so you got to deal with the root. You got to deal with the problem all the way down, not just with the situation that you see. And I think as leaders, it's easy for us to say, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. It's a lot harder to actually pastor them. And pastoring them, we got to sit down, we got to take time, we got to pray, they got to trust us by that, And so I think that's very, very important.
Yeah. Another question. Thank you. One more question. How long are your typical team meetings, and do you take meeting notes?
Yeah, we have a scribe or as we call it, an administrator. Absolutely. Every time we do any kind of a bigger event outside of a normal service, we actually do we do a debrief, pros and cons. And in fact, at one point, I really wanted to build up my worship team, and so I met with our worship team. It was probably like a 4-month process up when I was in Seattle still, because I really wanted to take them to a new level. And I literally, before every service, we'd pray together, and I would ask them, "What do you guys want to see?" And then after the service, I would meet with them for 15 minutes, really quick, 10, 15 minutes. And I'd say, hey, what'd you guys see? What'd you guys feel? And one of my things with that worship team is I really wanted them to go further into just a deeper level of worship, not just singing words on a screen, but actually taking it to a level of worship. And I began to train them. Hey, did you notice when you were between the chorus there and the verse there was that moment, that spiritual moment? And I'd be like, did you notice that? Like, yeah, next time, go with it, flow with it. Take that a little bit. If you have to sing the chorus twice, sing it twice. If you sing it 3 times, sing. And anyways, I don't want to go into how I train them, but I would train them. And so depending on what you're trying to do, yeah, you need meetings. And it's easier or have a group texting all the time. Hey guys, this went really well. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this situation? And have constant communication. Debriefing is always, always, always a plus. It's only going to make you better. In fact, after our Easter service, we got together with our team the week after. Our whole Sunday team, all our main core leaders, we got together with all the core pastors, and we went through and we wrote up, okay, what are the things that worked? The bouncy house, did it work? Maybe not. The popcorn machine, did it work afterwards? Did the bunny dressing up, the Easter egg hunt, for the kids that we did this work? Did the photo booth here work? Did that work? And we went through and talked about, did this work? Did this not work? Hey, maybe we should invest our money in something different. This year, we really invested a lot of money in doing promos through Facebook. It didn't work that well. Next year, let's say, hey, let's try some money somewhere else. Let's not try to do through Facebook. Let's try to do it through mailers. I don't know. You know what I mean? And so we're always asking those questions, because you're never gonna grow if you're not debriefing and asking what worked, what can we do better.
Cool deal. Well, wonderful, Meesh. Thank you so much for all the information you've shared. I'm sure we'll see you again. And guys that are watching, I want to encourage you. Meesh is he's out there. He's passionate for youth ministry. He's passionate for all things of God. We had some crazy youth camps with Meesh. By the way, be careful. If you want to invite him, be careful, because
people will get saved, people will get healed, people will get delivered.
Our youth absolutely loved Meesh, and God used them amazingly. So thank you, man. Thank you for taking your time, investing into us.
Yeah, honestly, guys, if you have any questions, personal questions about anything, I'm on every social media network. I'm on Instagram, on Facebook, and Twitter, all that. Find me at Meesh Fomenko. And if you have questions, anything leadership advice, I'd love to get on the phone with you. I think sometimes, I talk with guys literally all over the world. I've been, like I said, so many different countries, and I have people that I mentor from all over the world. I just got back from Central Asia. I was in like where you guys were, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and there was a couple of youth pastors there. They're like, man, I want to learn more. We don't have this kind of stuff here. How can I connect? I'm like, here it is. Boom. Find me write to me, email me. Boom. Let's connect. So,
well, thank you, Meesh. Thank you, everyone that's been on. And hopefully, I know the material is amazing. And God bless you guys. And till next time. Thank you.
Alex, love what you're doing. Bye, guys.
All right, bye-bye.